Hello, it's time for reflection time again, and just from a distance, looking into the Garden of Gethsemane. Today's our first Easter code with the pupils from Dalgety Primary, and then next tomorrow we have the pupils from Donnybristle. So that's the quiet Garden of Gethsemane, and in here we have a slightly noisier room. Can't get too close because obviously all this GDPR stuff, but you maybe hear some of the hubbub, some of the noise, and just realise that we have a lot of activity going on. We've got crafts, we've got a crowd scene where people are learning about peer pressure. At the very top we have got Cedar meal going on, people learning about the aspects of the Last Supper, and at the last tent that we're passing on my left we have got a foot washing where Sue is washing feet, and we have Malcolm and Margaret who have done their stint on the AV desk and are happily looking on. So I'll come out of the noise. It's not too noisy just yet, but it's about to get very noisy, so we'll come through and we'll just wander in. We've got Cafe Connect heading into rooms 1 and 2, and then through the office where Gail's working, awfully busy, and into the quiet room where we will have our time of reflection away from everyone else so that we don't get into trouble, and I don't get into trouble either. Our quiet room is through the office, but our quiet room also has a door just there which takes us out into the great Dalgety community. And this door is open from 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. on Tuesdays and Wednesdays during Lent. And if you do come in, there is on the table a place of reflection, some prayers, something to do, something to think about. But above all, it's simply a place to be still and to be quiet. And it may be that if you're walking up from the shops and you just need a wee break, you might want to drop in. The door from the outside is it's on the opposite gable end from the main door. You come by, I hate to say it, but come by the bins, and it's the first blue door on your right, obviously, on the building. So feel free, 9 till 9, Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Because stopping is really important, and we don't do it enough. We get caught up in the noise, and noise is good too. The noise through in our main hall and our worship area with, well, today 40 plus P7s, and tomorrow there will be 70 P7s. It does get noisy, and it's great, and we love to teach the kids and to help them understand and to listen to their questions. But sometimes we need to listen to our own inner voices and pay attention to our own questions. What are we thinking? What are we challenged with in the world? A long list, I'm quite sure. But what are we challenged with in our faith? And perhaps the world challenges don't help us in that. Or maybe they do. Maybe the challenges that we see around us we think are just ours, and the world hasn't seen anything like this before. And I suppose it's sad to say that actually church, the world, has seen all this before. Wars and rumours of war, abuse, power struggles, power challenges, people just rolling over others and not even caring about them. It's always been. But in our faith, we hear of a different way, which is what we're trying to let our youngsters know about today. Not tell them to believe it, but just know about. That Jesus' way was about gentleness, not about rolling over and being a doormat, but being strong for justice and strong for peace. Being strong to include everyone. Being strong in acceptance. Being strong in not judging people. And that can take an amazing amount of strength. We don't get it right. We don't get it right. Sometimes we don't get it right much of the time. But what we do have are opportunities to make it better and to get things better the next time. Andrea's put out a reflection area in the quiet room and also in the worship area when it's not being used for Easter code. And And this week there's a bowl of water, which is all very nice. And there's some paper, which you can write on. And sometimes we write on paper, we write lists of things that we need to do or need to think about. This paper's not so much for that. This paper's to write things that maybe we need to let go of. It may be things we've done wrong that we carry with us, guilt, shame, these things that weigh us down, burden us. These sins that we've done, these things that we've got wrong, we need to try and put right if we can, obviously. But then we don't carry them for the rest of our days. That's God's promise, that God forgives, that we get a clean sheet, that we can try again. But sometimes even when we write them down, we keep them. We might write it down on a nice bit of paper, but then we'll fold up that paper, we'll put it in our pocket, we'll put it in our purse, we'll put it somewhere, pin it on the board to remind us, or maybe just keep it in our hearts, keep it in our minds, keep it within ourselves so that every so often we can beat ourselves up. Or maybe it's something that someone else has done, so we can kind of psychologically beat them up too and say, oh, you did this before. But with this paper, the wonder of it is that when we put it into the water, with whatever it is that we've written on it, whatever it is that we feel that we've done that we really need to get rid of, we give it into God's tears as well as our own. We give it into God's living water. And that living water has an amazing effect. Through Jesus, we have been told again and again about God's forgiveness. That God doesn't just forgive, but forgets and lets us have that clean sheet. If we just put that piece of paper into our pocket, then the chances are at some time we're going to pick it out again and look at it again and relive it again. If we write something on this paper and put it into the water, then, well, we might still think, actually, I want to take that back. I want to find out what that means because that's been too much. But when we try, we can't do it. We can't get a grip of it. It's gone. Is there anything that we need to let go of, that you need to let go of, that I need to let go of during Lent? Actually let go. Not to think, oh, I'm awful, what can I do better? But just to let things go. Give yourself a bit of space then for receiving from God another blessing, receiving from God direction for the way ahead. To let it go and make space. So this week, whether it's in the quiet room or the worship area, walking out in the garden, maybe even in the snow by the end of the week, whether it's sitting in a quiet space in your own home, look for that quiet corner. Look for that quiet space. And yes, think, what do I need to let go? I probably need to go back now and see what's happening through in with Easter Code and see how they're moving on. They've got 5 areas to move around, 10 minutes in each. They've got the Last Supper, the Cedar Meal, they've got foot washing, they've got the Garden of Gethsemane, they've got a crowd scene where we look at the shouting crucify from the crowd at Jesus on Good Friday. And we have a craft area. And then after this, we get them all back together where they can ask their questions and where they can give their views on the day, but also on what Jesus has done. We do, of course, give them the end of the story and the Easter story and how magnificent and wondrous and amazing that is. We, I hope, will give them a little taste of what Christianity means to so many of us so that they'll think about it. That's all. Just think about it. Think about some of your things today. Let go, pick up, or maybe just sit and be. Have a glorious Tuesday. Have a glorious week, whatever you're doing.